this is part 2 of the cONmunity of Kirkland Lake. I've got Karolynn here, and I drew a picture that conveys something that everybody can see on the main drag of Kirkland Lake. Karolynn, joining me today, used to walk, well, still walks now on her own though, but used to walk up and down the street, the main street here, Government Road, and on the main street there's this picture here. And this picture, Karolynn and her children, her daughters, had stopped at, and I believe one of your daughters asked you about this picture. What did you tell your daughter and daughters about this picture that I'm alluding to in my own picture?
Well, as you mentioned, we were walking because we live on Government Road also. So in this one specifically, because it's one of the pictures downtown, we took the time to look at them all. This one is a police officer and a young child walking. So I explained to my daughter, who's 10 at the time, that they put that one up because the police, are safe. They're you can trust them.
Helpers in the
They're
community.
helpers. Exactly. If you're in trouble, that's what they're there for. They're there to help, basically. So I explained that to all three of them, but specifically the one that asked the question about the picture that's up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Ray, you've always had a positive opinion of the police, like not like naive, but like, obviously there's the bad guys out there, but like generally you thought like, okay, we can count on these people when it comes down to it, and if you need help, you give them a call.
Yes, just a little bit of background. I've previously worked as a community health nurse in this town specifically. I worked for almost 10 years, working directly with, some of these officers and that type of thing. And so I genuinely didn't have, a negative experience myself to kind of base it on. Yes, you mentioned naivete. It's like, I understand that there are always some bad apples everywhere, and especially within, police enforcement. It's kind of something that's a lot of people are talking about, unfortunately.
Lots of people are talking about that.
Right? So, but when I said that to my daughter, I genuinely, I meant it, because I had no reason to suspect that, the officers that I had worked alongside with and, that in a professional capacity,
were anything but acting in good faith.
Well, exactly.
Generally, like, and as gentlemen and gentle ladies.
Exactly. Because as much as, how do I say, I'm also very real with my children also, right? So I don't generally say things that I don't mean to them, right? So in the moment, I genuinely thought that because I had no reason to
think otherwise
of the specific officers in Kirkland Lake, because that's who I was talking about, That was our new community. We were coming from Virginia town. We were new to town in that sense. Yes, I worked in town, but we had not lived in town. So, just that kind of thing.
Yeah. So now, after your the OPP and friends, but after the OPP specifically visited your house on August 11th, 2024, what would you say about how they treated you and how how they went in and how they perceived you and how they treated you in that apparent perception. Because like seems like a wellness check gone awry or something.
Yeah, so I would definitely have a different personal perspective on that. You know, I would still hope that other people and my children would be safe and treated differently. Had, you know, if they're in trouble, you know, I'd like to think I was like kind of an isolated incident because if not, then there's something terribly wrong with the way that, you know, people with, I'm going to say, mental health issues are treated in this town. But, you know, it's backstory is, you know, in a sense that, you know, when I said this to my children, you know, the police were not necessarily involved in our lives. You know, my ex-husband and I were going through a breakup. We are still, obviously. And we have children. And it was a heated situation that unfortunately necessitated, I'm going to say outside help to decidedly on their part come in and assist us. And it just terribly went wrong in the sense that they seem to have formed an opinion about me. I'm going to say wrongly. And they decided to act professionally within, you know, I'm going to say within their mandates, but at the same time, overstepping in places that had severe consequences, I'll say. There were a lot of rumors flying around. We live in a small community. And I feel that true facts were not taken into consideration. And, you know, they made a lot of decisions based on rumors. And long story short, they didn't treat me as if I was somebody who was in need of help. They treated me as though all of a sudden I was a criminal who needed to be, I don't even know what the word is, stopped, brought to light, shunned, you know, just like not treated like a person anyways, who's having mental health issues, because everybody wanted to say, you know, opinions of what they thought was happening to me, but at the same time, those are the facts, you know. And I don't believe I was treated fairly. I don't believe I was treated with respect. I don't believe I was treated with even human decency and compassion and all these things that, you know, when you're coming in as a helper, you know, through your job especially, and you're imposing yourself into somebody's life in the Superman cape way to help, you need to have a little bit of heart and compassion in what you're doing.
Some bedside manner.
Exactly. So to bring back to August 11th, you know, somebody called the police. I did not call the police. Somebody called saying that I was in need of help. And the police escalated me instead of helped me.
I wouldn't even say they escalated you. They made it apparently more escalated.
Right.
Because like
good point.
you're like, okay, like someone's knocking at my door and like, okay, now my back door is opening. Like this is freaky. And like you looking at your camera, it's like, okay, I can't even see who's there. And you're still trying to, and they're smashing the door in. And it's like, okay, you unlock the door, you open the door for them, and you sat down without a word.
Right.
So they made an apparent escalation to feed their backstory.
Well, that's right.
It's like there was a pre-plan showing up there.
Well, there was because, as I mentioned, I'm a nurse that worked, in many different settings. Most recently as a crisis response nurse, who's very capable of doing a wellness check for somebody, across Canada at this point I was trained to do. And to involve police from any detachment that I need to in Canada. So I kind of know how these things are supposed to go. And I'm going to tell you that, the fact that they came in and regardless of what they thought the situation was, they saw me outside calm.
Absolutely.
And they decided to let me go inside my home thinking that they weren't there for me. And then they came in and, they tried to use a key to get in. I went into protection mode.
It's your home.
It's my home. I had a child inside.
And
I wasn't aware
saying
what was...
who's who. It's no one's like,
No one's
hey,
telling
like
me
we're
who it
outside.
is.
It's just like, oh, we're just going to come in your house because, you didn't answer the front door.
Exactly. So when I say they escalated me in a sense, I just mean that I was calm outside when they showed up. I was calm. And, by the time they handcuffed me, I'll just say it like that. By the time they handcuffed me by the end and had to take me out by force, I guess, it kind of, that's where they escalated that because I was maybe upset at a personal situation to verbalizing it outside in an angry way or whatever.
That had apparently blown over because you're walking to the house calm with the freaking dog leash resting in your hand. You're not even grasping the dog leash.
Exactly. So, that's why I use the word escalate because I was quite, calm in my demeanor, I'll say at that point, and, as soon as they opened the door, I'm just going to say also after all that, I don't think I deserve to be handcuffed and brought out and not talked to.
Sat in the car for 20 minutes.
Well, exactly. Right. And everything that followed. So there's more, there's a lot to that. But I just, I don't feel that I was treated the way somebody who's in a mental health crisis that's been deemed by everybody to be one, wrongly so, in a sense, without talking to me.
Yeah, it's like everybody took the liberty of speaking for you.
Well, this is the thing.
Except for you.
Exactly. Because when people were talking to me, they weren't actually hearing what I was saying. They came in with an agenda. They came in with a forethought. They came in with opinions. Prejudice. And it didn't matter what I said because,
they had what the story was, and that's it.
Exactly. And of course, unfortunately it didn't match, but that didn't mean I was lying. And like I said, I would welcome anybody to go through one of the worst times of their lives downtown Kirkland Lake. I'm just going to say,
everybody knows.
Because everybody's so nice here. Nobody's been through anything. I'm just going to say there were a lot of judgments. There were a lot of people who thought maybe they knew or they didn't. But, and at the same time, that's my point also,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a cONmunity thing. It's like everybody cares, but just not enough to actually do something substantial. It's like helicopter judgments and let's just push it towards here and this is the common narrative.
Exactly.
And let's not ask her what it is.
Exactly.
Okay, so now looking at this picture in recollection of August 11th, 2024 and what the OPP have done to you and your family, what would you say about this picture?
Well, kind of just sum up what I just said, I would hope that this isn't how they treat everybody that they deem to have mental health issues. But at the same time, for myself, the police are not somebody that I call when I'm in trouble.
Yeah,
I don't feel safe. I don't feel that they can help with anything. I don't feel that they're caring. I don't feel that they have any empathy. I don't feel that, how do I say?
they're just punching the clock.
Well, right, because at the same time, I've been very vocal that maybe they were wrong that day. And like I said, there's no compassion, there's no heart, there's no nothing. For me as a person who now, like I said, because they formed an opinion about me, they came in like that and dealt with me that way instead of a regular wellness check, which is supposed to be a warm exchange.
Considerate.
Exactly.
Respectful.
Exactly. Now I'm a person who has to deal with even more social ramifications, I'll say, from that. My children were deeply, deeply traumatized by that whole experience. I still am trying to mend my relationship with my children because after that day, I appeared to be mentally unstable, on drugs, and a danger to myself and my children. Wrongly. And
not worthy of humanity.
No, and not worthy of humanity in the sense that, and where I say is like when they're, they were wrong, is that because they feel justified in what they did, they didn't do any actions afterwards or talk, because police officers unfortunately talk to people that, about things they shouldn't. And, they didn't do anything to rectify the situation because they knew they had created one within my family. I'll just say it like that. Because again, personal and professional lines get crossed in small towns. And when we take oaths to protect people in small towns that we live in, we really have to be careful about that. To not let personal gossip and things like that overshadow.
But it's not even a question of policy, I don't think. It's just a question of attitude. Like OPP think they get to run you by the nose. Like these people will just, I'm a stranger in this community. I'm just going to pull this guy over. I'm going to give this person a hard time.
Right.
It's like you're new in a community and you think you just get to start telling people what to do and why are you upset? Well, first of all, you're a stranger in my town. Second, I'm paying your paycheck and you're acting like I owe you something. It's like, I already paid you, man, and you're inconveniencing me a lot of the time or trying to give me a hard time or get a ticket out of me or something. So
right.
A lot of the time it's the attitude. It's not even like it's the policy in the sense that they're allowed to get away with so much. Because if there's a working protocol that's like clear and concise and like there's ramifications or like repercussions for your actions, well, then you're going to have different tune from different people. You're going to have some respect. But when you just get to run amok and you have the courts and you have the town and you have all these different agencies that are all buddy-buddy behind the scenes, nothing ever gets held to account. And whoever's marginalized by the crew, well, that's just the case. And enjoy your tax increase.
And, I'm just going to say that's a good kind of wrap up in a sense of like what we were doing here too. Because like we're comparing, my perception of police enforcement and social services and lawyers and the court systems and all these things prior to my experience of actually having to deal with them in this community and in my situation. And I'm going to say, unfortunately, I agree with everything you just said. Whereas before I'm not saying that I wouldn't have said that some people had that opinion and they wouldn't have been justified to it because unfortunately everybody has their own situations, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I completely agree with everything you just said based on my personal situation, right? And that is extremely disappointing because I would have never said that prior to my having to, unfortunately, use these services or get thrown into them or however, you want to look at it. So just to wrap it up, like I said, it's thank you for, like I said, at that.
It's a lot of times the attitude sad. And it's just the...
And you seem to be right because they do seem very entitled. And in my case, what you just said is not wrong.
Yeah, it shows the quality of a person like who has no... Like, I don't want to boss around another adult, but these people will come into any neighborhood and start telling you what's what and like, this is ours. Well, and I'm
actually a very reasonable person to deal with,
absolutely.
Right? So it should have never... None of these things should have ever gotten to this point. Besides people feeling entitled and having their opinion and not listening to a person. you know? And this is how things can get out of hand.
Yeah, like a dialogue could have saved 4 officers.
That's right.
A big theater.
That's right.
Children being involved, your poor children, like all like this isn't kids stuff.
That's
like what are you
right.
people doing?
Exactly.
Covering cameras and things.
Exactly. Because that's what we're talking about, you know? So, exactly.
So on that, we'll wrap it up. Thank you for this part 2, and
Thank you.
we'll come back for part 3 very soon.
Oui.